Hi, welcome to Mixed Journey. Today we will rank every live-action Spider-Man villain. Some live-action Spider-Man villains have been excellent. Others, not so much.
For over 20 years, we've seen live-action Spider-Man on the big screen in 3 different versions set in 3 different worlds. We get different looks at Peter Parker, his family, friends, powers, skills, and, most of all, the villains he has to fight. Even though each version of Spider-Man has strengths that make it special and enjoyable, the real way to tell the good Spider-Man movies from the bad ones is by how strong their villains are. The best Spider-Man movies, like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man: Homecoming, have great villains. The worst Spider-Man movies, like Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, have too many bad villains and need more time to develop. Since there have been so many villains in Spider-Man movies, ranging from good to bad, with different powers and reasons for wanting to kill our favorite web-slinger, it's only fair to rank all the bad guys that the different live-action Spideys have faced. Here are all the main villains from the live-action Spider-Man movies, ranked from worst to best. Number 10. Green Goblin, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 version. Harry Osborn's transformation into the crazy Green Goblin could have been interesting if The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had taken the time to show how Peter and Harry knew each other. Since Harry was the second bad guy in the movie, there wasn't enough time to show how he went crazy, which made his change into the Green Goblin feel rushed. If Harry was the only villain in the film and Electro wasn't introduced first, he wouldn't be last on this list. But, with several villains in his film, a famous Green Goblin already before him, and no opportunity to redeem his character in Spider-Man: No Way Home like some other villains on this list, it's difficult to place him anywhere other than the bottom.
However, he was responsible for Gwen Stacy's death, which surprised many viewers. Regardless, this Green Goblin rendition is the worst live-action Spider-Man enemy we've seen thus far. Number 9. Venom, Spider-Man 3 version.
Not far behind Amazing Spider-Man's Green Goblin, however, is Spider-Man 3's Venom. Venom is another character whose movie tried to do too much at once. There were 3 main bad guys, all wanting to get Peter Parker's attention simultaneously. Even though a lot was happening in the movie, the character was the weakest of the 3 bad guys. The way Topher Grace plays Eddie Brock doesn't work for the movie, and when the Venom symbiote takes over, he doesn't make a believable villain. And now that we've seen Tom Hardy play a role in the Venom movies, even though Peter Parker's behavior in the movie has become famous, at least the symbiote gave us Peter's awesome black suit. If not, Venom could have been completely removed from the movie and would not have lost much.
Number 8. New Goblin, Spider-Man 3 version.
In the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, Harry Osborn's change from good to bad could have been really interesting. In all 3 movies, we're right there with Harry and his best friend, Peter, as his hatred for Spider-Man grows. Harry thought Spider-Man killed his father. When he found out his best friend was behind the mask, he started on a road of revenge that would have been great to see fully developed until he hit his head and lost his memory. This happened because there was already so much happening in Spider-Man 3 that they needed it too. However, the relationship between the new Goblin and Spider-Man would have been a lot more interesting than the enemy trio we got. Even though Harry was bad, he made up for it at the movie's end by saving Peter. Even though he wasn't the best bad guy ever, they were able to give him more depth, which is something not all bad guys have.
Number 7. Electro. Jamie Foxx went a little over the top with Max Dillon's goofy look before he became Electro, but Max was still just someone who wanted to stand out. He was stepped on, ignored, and misunderstood, but when he got his skills, he went a little crazy with them. Electro has a blue CGI face, which doesn't help his case. He's also one of the silliest looking Spider-Man foes we've seen. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, he is over the top and has strange reasons for doing what he does. In No Way Home, his character was treated more fairly. Not only does he get a new look that works much better than his first look, but his character is also developed more, making Electro more interesting to watch. But even though his role in No Way Home makes him a better figure, we still can't forget that it was his first time on the big screen. Number 6. Lizard. Speaking of villains with strange motivations, the idea that Dr. Curtis Connors wants to turn everyone else in New York into lizards like himself is definitely crazy. But, reasons aside, Connor's metamorphosis into the lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man is still an entertaining plot in which one of Peter Parker's mentor figures, similar to Otto Octavius in Spider-Man 2, unwittingly transforms himself into a monster. While most fans will agree that the mentor-turned-supervillain storyline in this story was not as brilliantly done as it was in Spider-Man 2, it still provided wonderful moral ambiguity as we saw Peter Parker take on the horror that Connors has become. We see the lizard resurface in No Way Home as well, but he has a much smaller role as the focus shifts to other villains, so more is needed to change anyone's perception of the character.
Number 5. Sandman.
Definitely, the finest of Spider-Man 3's villains, the revelation that Flint Marko was the man who truly killed Uncle Ben was a curious retcon. Still, it was all done so that his character would have more value to Peter Parker. The idea that Sandman is not necessarily evil because he wanted money to help his sick daughter and became Sandman due to his criminal activities strengthens Sandman's character. Sandman exists more as a figure for Peter Parker to confront his problems and come to terms with why he is Spider-Man, which helps to enhance Peter's character and, in turn, makes Sandman better. It also helps that his abilities are wonderful to see on screen, and he returns for No Way Home, although in a smaller role similar to the lizard.
Number 4. Mysterio.
While many of these villains unintentionally became monsters due to the powers they attained, Mysterio was fully aware of what he was doing the entire time. To exploit Peter, he creates the pretext of a worldwide threat while building himself up to appear as the greatest superhero in the world. He also uses his illusions to fool the entire world. Mysterio is undoubtedly one of the most purposefully villainous characters we've seen any Spider-Man go off against, which benefits Mysterio. He also assists Tom Holland's Peter Parker in coming to terms with the man he must become if he is to be an Avenger. Furthermore, Mysterio's actions set in motion the events of No Way Home, which included some of the best Spider-Man moments we've ever seen. 3. Vulture. With alien invasions, quantum universes, ancient gods, and mad titans, the MCU is notorious for its tremendous stakes and universe-ending ramifications. Vulture's greatest skill is providing a smaller scale to the MCU that we rarely see nowadays, especially with time-bending characters like Kong the Conqueror being added. Spider-Man: Homecoming demonstrates that he is simply trying to provide for his family and will go to any length to ensure their safety. Furthermore, he is the father of Peter's high school crush, making the matchup feel more personal than any other. He's the ideal first villain for Tom Holland's Spider-Man and sets Peter on the path to becoming the man and hero he was always destined to be.
Number 2.
Dr. Octopus. The top 2 characters on this list could easily be interchanged because they are truly in a class regarding the best Spider-Man villains. Dr. Otto Octavius, also known as Dr. Octopus, is ranked second. Spider-Man 2 is one of the best Spider-Man films ever made, largely thanks to Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doc Ock. On the one hand, Doc Ock is terrifying with his massive metal tentacles that allow him to move almost anywhere and do whatever he wants. Viewers, on the other hand, can't help but sympathize with the character because the tentacles have taken over Otto's body and are forcing him to do the horrific things he does. Furthermore, his friendship with Peter made it even more difficult for Peter to confront him. Otto's realization of his errors at the end of the film and his sacrifice of himself to save everyone else gave him a full and gratifying character arc. Furthermore, his participation in No Way Home further enhanced his position as a sympathetic character, demonstrating that he is a brilliant mind corrupted by his experiments.
Number 1. Green Goblin.
Finally, we have the original Spider-Man villain, Norman Osborn, as the Green Goblin. With a fantastic performance from Willem Dafoe, his spiral into insanity, his awesome glider and pumpkin bombs, and even his suit has a charm you can't help but enjoy. Green Goblin is a perfect storm for creating an iconic villain. Furthermore, his terrifying cackle as he terrorizes New York City is enough to make anyone fearful. He's chaotic almost only for being chaotic and is one of the most purely evil entities that rivals Spider-Man. That insane behavior returns in No Way Home, making Tom Holland's Spider-Man worry if he can be saved.
We wouldn't have it any other way if Green Goblin weren't the iconic Spider-Man villain. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.